Hello everybody and welcome to Life of Mars. My name is Alex and I am the CEO and founder of MarsBased and I will be your host today. And in this episode, we're bringing you a Startup Grind interview. As a matter of fact, this is the event we had last month with Francesc Font Cot, the co-founder and co-CEO of Incapto Coffee, but famously, he had co-founded also other companies like Nubelo and Bandit in the past. Francesc is a very respectable entrepreneur, and I really admire him because he's not in the spotlight. He's always behind the scenes. He's much more of an operational person, and I'm not the kind of person that spends a lot of time just going to events and speaking and being on podcasts. So he's much more of a maker, if you will. And I really like that. I like that kind of people who just keeps creating businesses, adding value, selling businesses, and maybe some want work, some others don't, but he's always there. Doesn't really like to give advice, although he's very opinionated on certain things. You can tell that he was very comfortable in the interview. And the reason I wanted to share this interview, it's because I think it's less of a startup grind interview where we usually have people that have got larger companies with bigger headcount, have raised hundreds of millions in venture capital and whatnot, and not so much close to being bootstrap companies. These kind of quasi bootstrap companies are not our typical guest. But I really wanted to do a couple of events where we had like no bullshit and had people with straight up answers about creating businesses with a proven serial entrepreneurship. Not a one-hit wonder, because one of the things I realized in the last few years, and I've been doing Startup Grind for almost 10 years now, is that a lot of the companies I interviewed in the past, they don't exist anymore. And maybe that's the fate of most startups. Maybe that's the reality of 2 out of 10 are the ones to survive, and maybe just 1 out of 10 is the one that makes it past 10 years. So this is something that I really wanted to bring up to the conversation. And I think that the reality is that looking back to the 170 plus events we have hosted at MarsBased, I see that at least 30, 40, 50 companies don't exist anymore. And they have, some of them, they raised 30, 40 million in venture capital. They've had more than 100 people. And these two are mainly our criteria for selecting speakers, is at least 10 million in annual revenue or 100 people in headcount. And like it or not, they help me to filter out some people who might not be relevant. But the reality is we don't have those many companies like that. And we have hosted pretty much every company in the scene that complies with these criteria. But the thing is, most of them just make it once, but they don't make it twice, which is really rare. Really, more than rare, it's strange. And maybe in the US, because it's a bigger market, they create second companies and third companies and they make it to these numbers as well. But in Spain, it's pretty infrequent. So I don't know. My feeling is that here we, or people, just create one company once, and if it goes well, they kind of like retire, right? Like some famous people who have sold the company and fucked off forever, or maybe they just do some angel investing, some mentoring, but they don't create a second company, or they never make it. Or maybe they don't make it on the first company. They try it again on the second company, it doesn't work, or they just make it big once, but the subsequent companies aren't great, and therefore I couldn't host them at Startup Grind. So I hope you like this episode, but before jumping into the episode, I'd like to ask the question of the day, which is something that we have incorporated in the last 2 episodes, because we want to get to know you better. I've got the feeling that after 100 plus episodes, both in the Spanish and English versions of this podcast, you get to know me pretty well and our company, because not only we interview people here, but we also discuss among team members and with my co-founder sometimes, or Lady, our head of operations, occasionally. And you hear me talk a lot, and also in between questions, sometimes I share stories, anecdotes, and other funny stuff of the company. So you get to know me very well, but I don't know you. We'd like to know our audience a little bit better. So please, we would like to know something about your company. In the last episode, we asked about the tech stack. In this one, would like to know who you want to see and why, right? Who you want to see and why in this podcast, right? It's easy to ask for a list of names, and some people already have requested Scott Galloway and some like really unreachable people way out of my reach on LinkedIn and whatnot. But I really want to know the why. Like, if you select and you name a person, why do you want to have these people speak on this podcast? So right now, without further ado, let's jump right into the episode. Thank you for listening. I'd like to welcome people like rock stars, and my first question is actually, how many times have you been welcomed on stage as an entrepreneur? I'm sorry, as a rock star. Now, how many times have you been welcomed on stage as a rock star?
I don't know. I don't like to be considered as rock star. Actually, I don't want, and I don't like at all this rock star wall in the startup ecosystem. But anyway, I'm here to share my small know-how to the community, and you can ask me whatever you want.
Well, that's
anyway. Great entrance with Eye of the Tiger. I really like this song and all the Rocky saga. So
feels good because it pumps you up, right? It's like, oh wow, I come on stage. No, but it's like you drop something interesting right now. It's like you don't like the rock star attitude in the startup scene. Can you explain a little bit that, because it's interesting?
Well, I think first of all, if I could, and I guess that you want to talk about our last funding round and all of this for sure, but I always say the same. I didn't need funding rounds. I prefer I need to expose myself to the media. I prefer a healthy company because I always say revenue is vanity, profit is sanity, cash is power. This is something that there is huge scarcity in the startup ecosystem, but when people read the media, newspaper, social media, I think that we are like, I don't know, superheroes. And when you think about yourself and you say, okay, but maybe I have 6 months of life and to pay salaries, and I don't know how I will do this. And if I lose the money of my investors, I think that there is like a kind of bullshit in this sector, quite interesting. But well, we can talk about this anyway if you want.
Funnily enough, our last event was no bullshit. We didn't record it. How many people from here were at the last event? Was it good? I mean, if you came back, I guess it was not terrible, but it's a good point. Because, so I haven't asked any question, and we have we're already discussing something. We're going off a tangent, but it's very good because you're right. I think most events or most media try to focus on the fundraising, and we have glorified fundraising, and entrepreneurs are focusing on fundraising, not on doing sales. Can you repeat the thing about like revenue is vanity, or like?
Yeah, this is I remember clearly that day when I learned this about it was in a session presentation of Bern Harnish, the author of Scaling Up and 10 Rockefeller Habits, I think. And 8 in the morning, American style. He just didn't say good day, and he started with revenue is vanity, and 30 seconds, all the founders looking at this. Then he said, profit is sanity. I think that all the startups that we were there, no one was profitable. And then he said, cash is power. And he put it all together, and he didn't talk for a minute. And he said, just think about it. And I said, yes, you are right. And when you read about companies, I mean, they talk about the revenue, they talk about how much they raise, but they don't talk about if they are positive EBITDA, if they had great unit economics, if they add even value to the society. And that's something that really annoys me because, well, I think that some things has to change in the startup ecosystem because I think that we try to put in the skies and in the clouds some companies that won't never be profitable, then doesn't add any value in the ecosystem, and we have to start talking about what we do and how we want to change society, how we want to add value to the people at least, and that's something that needs to be discussed.
Really seems that you want to talk about quick commerce, like gorillas or something like that,
No,
right?
no.
No,
I know you like e-commerce too, but
no, just kidding. I'm going to give you a little bit of context. I met this gentleman in 2014 at an event in Barcelona Tech City, if I remember correctly. We're sitting next to each other, and he was running a company called Nubelo, right? It was like a company where you could hire freelancers to do work. You eventually sold that to freelancer.com, if I remember correctly. And
yeah, well, I mean, it's interesting because we had invested some million euros to develop this marketplace for the Spanish-speaking countries. In terms of figures, if I started telling you KPIs, I mean, you'd say, well, great, with what number of projects and professionals in the platform.
But revenue?
But in terms of revenue, I mean, we all talk about GMV, but I know at least which is your margin. No? I mean, it was a marketplace, 10% commission. We lost money and we sold it. Yeah, we sold it to freelancer, but it was not enough to to everything in comparison to what we have invested. I think it was it made sense, that project, because at least working with all the Spanish-speaking countries and generating a freelance community that work online was good, but it was not okay for timing. I mean, timing in projects is crucial, and then with the COVID and all these remote tendency we see, maybe it would have been a great project, but maybe it was too soon. I mean, yeah.
Probably was too soon, but after that, you launched Bandit, which was an agency for like headhunting for super qualified professionals. And I remember I said like, wow, this is smart. He kind of like sold the part that was not profitable and turned that into really profitable business. And now you're doing coffee. But the reason why I wanted you to be here is in 2014, I was like, wow, this guy builds healthy businesses. I'm going to have him. But then you mentioned you're not on social media. It's almost not in social media. It's, not on the spotlight. And we get all of these other entrepreneurs who raise millions and create much more unhealthy businesses. And when I have people coming to mind to interview at events, I always think of those people because they are always in the media. You're not. And so the other day, just walking out of Travel Perk, so Incapto is like, God damn it, it's time that I bring Francesc here because I really appreciate the way he thinks. He's also a business angel, by the way, so we can talk about that. So before going into Incapto, so this transition of Nubelo into Bandit, can you talk a little bit about Bandit to give more context, and then we'll move to Incapto?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was actually we realized that in our marketplace, many companies were publishing fake projects. We read it and they said, no, I really want to hire a developer full time, but I try here and every morning quit, and a lot of projects didn't convert because they were actually looking for our professionals database, which was quite curated, but we realized that the market wasn't really prepared to hire freelancers in a remote way, but they were looking desperately for full-time professionals working physically in their offices. By then, no, everything has changed, as we know, but yeah, we made this transition. We sold the freelance marketplace, and with the money that we recovered, then we created Bandit. It was like a spin-off, but actually it was the same company. And it was like a Tinder. I mean, well, the scarcity was in the professionals. And in this case, it started doing really great. But the thing, and learning from then is that it was actually the same company than Nubelo, with the same investors, the same founders, everything. But we were really tired of last 6 years. And we had a lot of legacy of employees, of debts, public funds that we have raised. And I think that maybe we should have stopped and create a new company, because there were debts, there were a lot of legacy with investors, we were diluted, and despite the business was doing really great, we were really diluted. And one time we talked with our investors and we said, okay, we need new energy, we need to recover from the last 5 years, and we think there is a great opportunity. We want you to get your money back that you invested, but I mean, we need to find solutions. And it was really a mess, because we had like 30 investors, some VCs, and some of these VCs were a nightmare for their investors, because they were losing money in all their companies and they couldn't invest anymore. And well, the learning there was, if it's another business, start from zero. You close the business and start again. You can start a new business with a lot of legacy.
The learning, it's also funny because normally people fail in their companies. Right? You managed to sell it, right? So you had a nice problem there. It's like, well, I sold the company. I am reusing this. So it's, maybe it was a blessing in disguise, but normally people wouldn't have reused the company, because if you sell a company, then you're not allowed to be in the same market again, doing maybe something that is competing against your former company. So I don't know. In that sense, I guess it's the learning of, maybe I should have started from scratch to avoid having that. Why didn't you consider creating something else, like in a completely different sector?
Yeah, no, because we really saw an opportunity, and it was like a spin-off of Nubero, and we detected there an opportunity, and we had a huge database of professionals. We already know a lot of companies, and we said, okay, now finally you can hire full-time employees, digital employees with our company. But the thing is that not all of the investors were prepared to understand this pivot. And when this pivot was that new, with a new brand, with a new approach, more B2B, not that tech in this case, it was complicated. And when we tried to incorporate new investors, it was a mess, because I mean, they didn't accept that the old model didn't go well, and that sometimes big valuations are a problem if they are not. And I remember one VC that said, I prefer to lose all the money than accepting a lower valuation than the last one when I put money, because if not, all my portfolio companies will be the same. And say, okay, we're giving you the opportunity to get your money back and win some. The business is doing well, but he said, I can accept this. It was the VC, I think, that most invested in companies by then, cash capital risk, and I think that he's not investing anymore now. And I have not a problem to say this. And they learned a lot about this, because they didn't allow us to incorporate new investors, to develop franchises, and it was a mess. It was a mess at the end, and the entrepreneur said, enough.
Okay, so it comes with a lot of problems. We're using stuff from your earlier company, like you mentioned, probably you reuse the database, you reuse, I don't know, even like the entity. But in what ways did it help you? What things did you go faster with because you reused, like database, or like some people from the?
Some people.
And how did you manage that with
some
freelancer?
people, some technology.
Okay.
Because at one moment we started doing both, both full-time positions on freelance projects, because we understood that a professional career could be both things during the professional career of everybody. I mean, you can be freelancer. Sometimes you can do mix, full-time job plus freelance jobs, and we understood that we could do this hybrid platform. But we understood that it was very to keep open all the freelance marketplace. It was hard. And we decided to sell it and focus on where we saw great unit economics. Because at the end, it's this. I mean, you talk about the quick commerce industry. There is a problem there of, there is just one problem, the unit economics. It doesn't work, so it doesn't make any sense that there is money, or I mean, if people is eager to pay 15 euros to bring you, I don't know, your meal, okay, but I mean, everything has a cost. And if not, it's doping. I mean, you can win the Tour of France with doping. I mean, this is cheating, no? But I think it's the same. And we said, okay, in the part of full-time jobs, it's really profitable, really great unit economics. So let's focus on this. We sold the freelance marketplace, but with all the legacy of debts, and because that's something that it's curious about startups, that when we raise debt, we think that we don't have to pay it back to the banks or to any
Spoiler, you do.
Yeah. And it's curious because now I see many companies that are doing press releases saying, okay, we have raised 4 million, 6 million. And actually, these are venture debts, and they have to repay this. And they give shares, they pay crazy interests, and they say, like, we have done a funding round. No, this is not funding. Funding is money in the company to invest, to develop the. But if you raise debt, this is debt. And many of them are telling to the press, new funding round. No, this is not a funding round. This is debt, and you have to pay back the debt. And this is something that in the next years, actually, it's starting to happen. Many companies won't be able to pay back their venture debts, and they will suffer a lot.
We're going to go into that a little bit later because it's really interesting. Just one part I'm really interested is, how did you manage the conversation with the acquiring companies of freelancer to say, this part you keep, this part I can keep, we will be in the same market, but we do this part. So how were you able to keep the expectations aligned?
Well, it was a nightmare, a technical nightmare to do all the to do all the integration of our professionals, of our database, of all the companies, and it was a nightmare. It was really difficult, even because they were from Australia, and it was like I felt that I was working 24 hours a day, and I mean, just because you wanted to keep the project continuing going on, and many users used our platform, our marketplace, companies, both companies and freelancers, and we said, okay, it makes sense. So, and they were the only one, to be honest, that wanted to acquire us when we took the decision to focus on the full-time projects. And I mean, I don't have problems to say that it was totally fake by then. I mean, they were a terrible company, and that they live just of buying new companies and saying to the press, okay, and then their shares increase, and but they are not a great company, freelancer, and we don't feel proud on how they treat freelancers and all this. But it was our only option. All the other platforms all over the world, TopTal, Upwork, they were in troubles also. So yeah.
Just last question about this topic. We'll move on to the next company. But so, how long was the process of the M&A?
I think it took like 3 months.
That's a short one.
I mean, you realize with the time that there are some companies that their business model is acquiring other companies, that they don't add value to the market.
Like job and talent.
Yeah, probably also. yeah. And actually, it was the day that they announced that they acquired us in the press. In the stock market, they increased 30 million of capitalization of US dollars. And it was like 30 times what they pay for us. Yeah.
So you're not going to share how much, but you're going to give this.
Yeah. Well, but anyway, this allowed us to start Bandit, the new business with a new brand. It was really great for 6 months, but there is always a boomerang, and when you have debts from an old business, then we tried to regenerate our cap table, but it was too complicated.
Let's move into Incapto. Like we probably get a little bit like Bandit. Probably you can ask in the Q&A, but I want to focus right in what you're working right now. So Incapto has been around for some years, and you walked in here. There's an Incapto machine here. So I'm sorry, you will not be making a new client because they're already a client of yours. And some people probably in the audience, they already have got your coffee machines, right? So you pivoted 100% from going to like freelancers and the future of work to coffee. And it's a company that it's a brand, and it's got hardware and it's got software. Why so complicated? How did you have the idea?
I mean, I don't know. I think that entrepreneurs, when we see that there are opportunities, we say, okay, I can do this. I want to do this. I didn't know anything about coffee, to be honest, but my co-founder, Bea, she's a Kiwi grader, and she always told me that there was a problem in the coffee industry. And after Bandit, I was the interim CEO of big e-commerce, and I learned all the operations and all the issues around the pure players. And actually, I said, I mean, it doesn't make any sense that, for instance, here in Spain, we have like 300 pet pure players e-commerce, 300 pharmacies and personal hygiene e-commerces. And what is the difference there? I mean, they all work to make Google and Facebook richer than they are. Because what is the difference? If we think strategically, like Porter, I mean, as you can do two things. You can have a competitive advantage in price they don't have, because who's the one that sells this product at a lower price and everybody competing in Google shopping? I mean, it doesn't make sense. And we all buy in different marketplaces. Apart from Amazon, we all buy in these verticals, and the one that offers better price, well, this is human to think like this. So they don't have any advantage. And on the other hand, I mean, if they sell products from other players, what is the advantage here? I mean, and at the same time, we saw the rise of digital native vertical brands. And I said, okay, I would like to help entrepreneurs that are launching good projects, good digital native vertical brands, but they don't know how to do this technological approach, this operational approach, how to fund their projects. They were like more artisans. So with my co-founder, Joaquim Mac, who was in one startup guy in Mataró, we started looking for people that had brands that wanted to this direct-to-consumer approach, this digital approach. And we focus on brands that had two main characteristics. One, recurrence, because we think recurrence is important. So in terms of coffee, for instance, we always drink coffee every day. It's something we do every day. And another, that they had a sustainable approach. I mean, we were 40 with kids, quite concerned about the climate change, and we said, okay. And we wanted to create a company builder for digital native vertical brands. And one thing that was interesting for us is, I remember, Hawkers, the glasses, the sunglasses, and I said, that's a crazy story. That's actually a stupid story, because I remember reading once in the newspaper, one of the co-founders saying, no, we are a digital marketing agency. I mean, we sell glasses and we could sell, I don't know, anything.
They had a brand, a lifestyle, right?
Yeah. Yes. And I said, okay, stupid. I do know that you buy the glasses for €0.50 and you sell it to me for 50. But don't tell it to me. Please tell me that you do the design, that the optic is great, that the product, I mean, you're selling products.
No bullshit.
Yeah. And we said, okay, and at every one of our projects, there has to be a product company And we have to emphasize that this is a product company, and we don't have to create good projects because we are good at marketing online. We have to create good projects because they are really good brands. That's something that for us was really clear. And the thing is, we created a portfolio of 5-6 projects, some of them ideated or created by us, and some others projects that had already started. And when at the beginning of 2020 we went to the investors, and we said, we want to create this company builder. We see a lot of synergies, operational synergies, technological synergies, marketing synergies, and economies of scale in all these projects. And they said, can I just invest in the coffee one? And when it happened to us like 4 times, we said, okay, let's just focus on the coffee one. And after some months, we will start with the others. And the coffee industry, we discovered that there were a lot of opportunities there, and that we could create a big company in the coffee industry and change an industry that needed to be changed, because it's terrible in terms of what we demand on the coffee experience, everything related also with the sustainability. And we said, okay, we think we can do a great job in this industry. And after 3 years, we're here. Yeah, I mean, Nespresso hate us. It's something that they tell us every day. Actually, Incapto in Latin means non-capsulated. I mean, we like to say that we think out of the capsule, and we think out of the capsule not only in the coffee industry, but in the way we think. I mean, we try to pay more to coffee farmers. We try to disintermediate everything. We try to generate a direct-to-consumer approach. And we try to change the rules in the industry.
We could talk about greenwashing for hours, but I think that's not the main purpose. Happy to answer questions in the Q&A, but let's focus on like the product validation, right? You said you found validation by the investors because they all wanted to invest in the company. Like, oh, I want to invest in the coffee one. Great. That is validation that somebody wants to invest in the company. But that doesn't mean that it validates the actual, the actual intention of buying from customers. How did you validate the customer's intention of?
Yeah, it's curious because we talk with a lot of customers. I mean, the specialty coffee industry by then, with new coffee shops to raising, but no one was crazy enough to compete against Capsule, to compete against Nespresso, to say, okay, I can offer this coffee to the mass market. And we understood that there was a problem because people said, okay, I know that it's better coffee. I know that it can be even cheaper than coffee pots. And I know that coffee beans are sustainable. And well, it's curious because with the greenwashing, people thought that the coffee pots could be recycled. Now I think that they understand that they are not recycled because you can throw them to the plastic container, despite Nespresso telling all the days that their aluminum is recyclable. I mean, all the aluminum is recyclable, but you need systems to recycle it. No, so we talked with a lot of them and said, okay, if you have a machine where I can push a button and have a coffee in 20 seconds, then I will move to coffee beans. And we started looking for manufacturers all over the world. And it's curious because all the super automatic coffee machines, these ones that grind the coffee at the moment, they were really expensive, really big, with a lot of buttons and stupid functionalities that you don't need. And we look exactly the opposite machine. The smallest one, very compact, just 2 buttons, the most similar machine in terms of functionality to the Nespresso ones, but with a hopper and coffee beans. And by doing this 360 model, we said, okay, we are ready. Actually, many of them will say, I don't want to spend 500 euros in a machine. And I said, okay, let's come back to the old model of mobile phones where I say, okay, if you stay 1 year with me, I can sell you the machine at a very competitive price with no margin for me. And I have 1 year to make you fall in love with my coffee. So this is the game of the lifetime value and low customer acquisition costs. And that's what we started doing with the business to consumer brand. At the beginning, we couldn't sell to companies because of the COVID. And after 1 year, we started selling to companies too. I mean, always the same approach, and we detected that where there was an espresso machine, we felt winners. I mean, because we said you can enjoy the coffee, it's better, coffee recently grinded, it's more sustainable, it's even cheaper. So, I mean, we felt that we had a value proposition that was not beatable for them. So we started competing everywhere against espresso, in the companies and in the at home. I mean,
But it must have been very hard because even though, we all know Nespresso is evil, it just works and you got it there. You have already bought it. Your machine was expensive until you found out this plan, right? And there's always this huge distance between somebody who says like, yeah, when you launch it, I'm totally going to buy your product or your service. And when they actually do it, right? Everybody says yes. 2% of these people will actually buy it, right? Who were the first ones? Do you remember? And
you know what? It's curious because people think that we were an e-commerce brand, and
Fair enough.
we're really good at pitching. I remember that summer working from home with my kids, and we made some change, and we said there was a lot of traffic in the website when we started in July, but nobody bought our machine or our coffee. But I said it's strange because there is a lot of traffic, but there is no conversion. So we used, do you want us to call? And every day 10 calls, and we started pitching everybody. The coffee is better like this is our business model, you can enjoy the payback of the machine in comparison with coffee pots maybe like this, and all the day talking with customers. And what's great, and what's I mean, you said you come from the software industry. I mean, nobody said how great is what you do, it's really good for me. But now every day many people say, I love your coffee, I mean, it's the best purchase of my
it's
life.
word of mouth.
I mean, and I feel good because I don't generate waste. My kitchen smells again coffee and all like this, and this is really great. I was not used to it, and it's quite interesting. Yeah.
Especially not, I mean, because you were not part of freelancer, but freelancer definitely didn't teach you anything about brand. But the funny thing, there's one thing I wanted to understand here. So coffee is technically something everyone consumes. You could be selling to everybody. However, when you're starting out, it's easier to go after a niche, find a tribe, right? A group of people, a segment, understand their needs. Parents, they spend a lot of money with their children. Video gamers and YouTubers spend a lot of hardware, LED lights, and cool cameras and stuff. Coffee lovers spend a lot of coffee, or hipsters. Techno lovers, they spend a lot of cocaine, right? So how did you find like the right kind of people, this segment, and then narrow down and understand their needs? Or did you just go generic?
No, talking with many coffee consumers and by receiving their insights. I mean, and also I think that there are some industries that you understand that it's time to change. I mean, it's like electrical cars with traditional cars. I mean, everything is changing. The energy industry, I mean, everything is changing now. And we felt that we had, I mean, actually at the beginning, we said, okay, if you use a fully automatic machine that is not that expensive at the end, coffee bean is better. The coffee doesn't get oxidated. You don't generate waste. You enjoy the coffee much more because it's like an orange juice recently squeezed. I mean, it doesn't have anything to do with the one that you can buy in the supermarket in a Tetra brick. So we said, okay, how is it possible that in the industry no one is doing this? Where is the elephant in the room? I mean, and I think that no one was. It's complicated business. You need a lot of capital because you need to start manufacturing machines. You need to buy coffee from the coffee farmers, and there is one window per year. So you need to invest a lot at the beginning in terms of working capital. That's why we do funding rounds, because I mean, we could be profitable because we have 15,000 subscribers, more than in the B2C, more than 3,000 companies in the B2B. I mean, and this is a recurring revenue, but I mean, we are growing, and we are investing in new machines, in new tooling, in new green coffee, in facilities and everything. I mean, you need a lot of manpower, you need a lot of financing to put all this business model in the market. You need to generate a brand. We have done TV campaigns on TV. I mean, you compete against traditional brands that everybody knows. And you are there to say, okay, my coffee experience is better, is cheaper, is more sustainable, you will enjoy. But I mean, you don't just have to be, or you don't just have to have a good product, and they have to get to know you. And if they don't know you, and by doing this, you need money. I mean, we have to compete against George Clooney. No, it's like this.
I mean, you kind of look like George Clooney.
Thank you, but
yeah, from this distance, not from there. Everybody looks like George Clooney, even Victor. But just kidding, Victor. Oh, still good. No, but like, let's talk about how you finance this, because you said that you started selling from very early on, but you gave it away, and you gave the machines away discounted, right? So you didn't capitalize on 100% of the value you could sell. So how many different
discounted, but we don't lose money.
No, of course, but diluted in time, right? So it's like, okay, you pay less, or you pay in installments, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's been our nightmare since since when we started, because I mean, we also see that there is an opportunity to change the industry, and we have to keep growing, and investing in new machine models and everything. I mean, even when we have this year, for instance, we just in Spain will do more than 8 million revenue with great margins, great recurrence. I mean, we don't have to invest that much in marketing. And now we are expanding into new countries, Italy, France, and Portugal. But I mean, we always have to invest to grow, because, for instance, now in Christmas, we do 40% of our revenue in the B2C business unit, and we have to pay in advance 2 million to our manufacturers. And it's complicated to do this. I mean, on the other hand, for instance, the commerce industry, the ones that sell products from other brands, I mean, they sell to their customers, and they pay at 60 days to Google, they receive the money instantly, and then they pay at 60 days to the industry. I mean, they get funded by the working capital of their providers and customers. Here is totally the other way. So that's why we started with a growth with business angels. That's why we started with crowdfunding.
I was going to say, how many different options of funding have you explored?
We started with the founder, some founder savings, and some business angels.
Crowdfunding?
Then after 3 months, in September 2020, we did the crowdfunding, which was quite great, because I mean, in 7 hours we had €500,000, but
was it worth it?
Yeah, okay. Yeah, because I know
most people say no, it's too much work.
No, I know that when I see some campaigns, especially in CrowdCube platform, I mean, I say, okay, these are investors.
They're not our sponsors. It's okay.
Yeah, no. I mean, you have to show them the P&L and the projects and everything. They don't show anything. They just buy because, oh, this brand is cool, I invest. Okay, no. We use in this case the Crowd Angel, no name those investments. Mm-hmm. I think that they are more professionals, and that the investors that are there know about investing and know it's different. The ticket is higher. But our thesis was that we could have near 200 or 300 investors that at the same time could be our ambassadors. That could be that we thought they will consume coffee at home. They work at some company, so they can open us or generate leads into companies, and that's something that it was totally like that. So it was great. And VCs came to us and said, if you are invested by crowdfunding, we want to invest you in the future. Then they continue coming. I mean, I think that for B2C brands, it's a great mechanism, crowdfunding.
For B2C, yeah, because there's some sort of validation as well, right? So you do pre-sales,
Yeah.
and if you don't reach it, you can always give it back, and it's a good way of already showing the prototype, iterate. And I think back in the day when I was involved in a couple of projects of crowdfunding, I think that to set it up, you have to already have the 30% of the capital already committed. Otherwise, you don't get into the platform, which is something that is not shared publicly. But I don't know if that was your
it's
case.
not like that.
Not anymore?
I think it's an excuse. If they are not totally convinced, they say, if you
That's
come
good.
back with me with 30 or 40% of the amount you plan to raise, then I will do the other part, because then it's easier for them. But in this case, they did everything, 100% of the funding round. And we were just 3 months. But we had a great summer. We were increasing the number of subscribers. And I think, to be honest, I have created some companies, some of them great, some of them not great. Novel, for instance, was not a good, in terms of traction, in terms of how we monetize the company. I mean, it was really hard for us to imagine that this company would never be profitable. But I think that there are some companies that at the beginning you feel like, yeah, there is something. I mean, there is traction. I don't know what's happening, and sometimes it's luck, and sometimes it's that you are in the right moment, at the right time, at the right industry, with the right team, and when everything aligns, then you have to run, and you feel it. I mean, it's something you can explain, but you feel it.
I mean, I don't like crowdfunding, but one thing that's really good for if you're going to use crowdfunding is if they are really interested in your project, is because they know more than you do, right? They have probably seen these in other platforms. They have already replicated something, and they have seen, if you're going to do whatever, a new phone or a new toy, and they have done several campaigns on this market, and they've been super successful. They want another one. So they have the playbook. So if they're really interested, I think it's some sort of investment validation as well. So it really helps. But then, so after crowdfunding, between crowdfunding and the VCs now, have you explored any other kind of financing alternatives like debt, for
we
instance?
started with venture debt because they were the only ones. I mean, there are some things that in the industry, it's incredible, because when we did the first crowdfunding, I mean, we were just 3 months, and I remember the investment manager of the crowd angel saying, I will introduce you to some banks. And I said, I don't think that banks will finance us with credit lines and everything to buy a coffee and machines. I said, no, yeah, you just have raised 500,000. You will receive, I don't know, 50K. I said, okay. I will introduce you to Kasha, to Day One for startups. Remember the name, Day One. And they said, no, really, I'm sorry, but we can give loans to companies after the first year. I said, okay,
year one.
Then why is your name Day One?
They were our sponsors back
like
in
a
the
joke.
day.
Yeah.
They're not
And
anymore.
then, we created. Then we used venture debt. It was the best of the not that good solutions. But with this, we could continue improving in terms of stock and acquiring new machines. And with the time, banks started knowing more about our business. We could explain them our unit economics. I mean, we said, okay, look, the cohort analysis, how they repeat, the subscribers, the profitability there, how I acquire. I mean, I still lose money because I'm growing, and I'm creating all these new machines, the new roasting center. I'm hiring people, and I'm growing, but the unit economics are good. It makes totally sense. So some of them started giving us loans. But at the same time, we felt that we need to invest in TV campaigns, in like the society get to know us. We have opened a flagship store in La Isla. I mean, this is capex, 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 capex. Also, our business model in companies is it's a pay per cap model. I mean, we invest in the coffee machines, and for instance, there are 20 coffee machines here. I think 20 coffee machines is a lot of money for us. I mean, they consume thousands of coffees every day. It's a great customer.
Avi works a lot.
I mean, there is a minimum of from between 6 and 1 year of payback in each B2B customer. So this was another added problem to our working capital problems when we started with companies. So then we did a Series A with some venture capital. We had clear in mind that we were maybe too Catalan, so we contacted the investors from Madrid, and we started with Entre Canales, with A3 Media, and once we said, okay, we are done, we are profitable in Spain, now we have to export this model, our technology, our IoT system, our coffee as a service platform, and everything to other countries. And then we moved to this last funding round with international VCs. It was curious that the ones that invested to us and the most interested were the Italian investors, the Agostinian, in this case, P101, because we thought like, going to sell coffee to Italy or to Italians? They said, no, we have the same problem here. It's full of grab coffee and espresso, and come here and bring us your solution here. So that's where we are right now.
Wow, I didn't know about that. That's actually amazing. What are the learnings? So, a couple of quick questions before we open up the floor for questions or people's Q&A. So the first one is like, what didn't you know about venture capital that you know now? And the second is, how did you manage to raise funds nowadays where everybody else is fucking laying off people?
Yeah, I think that there are some investors that are really stupid and that have done really stupid things in the past. Because I mean, how can you invest in such advanced phases with very big funding rounds when there is not a proven market fit? But this has happened. I mean, 15 million for you, 20 million for
NFTs.
You, and well, yeah, for instance, I mean, doesn't matter. And at the end, it's very simple. I mean, when you are 2 years in the market, you have a lot of customers. You can prove that they are satisfied, that they repeat, and you say, okay, these are my unit economics. This is my product roadmap. This is my market expansion plan. I mean, this is what we do. I mean, it's not you that you are selling, it's the company that is selling itself, because these are numbers. And I think that the problem during the last years is that many entrepreneurs sold visions and they were invested in numbers that were incredible, that someone could invest in that where there is not a proven market fit. Even in companies that didn't have a business model. And that was crazy. And that's why many people thought that there was a bubble. But it's incredible because after it happened, I think in between 3 and 6 months, all these that were doing these crazy investments in companies that didn't have product market fit, then they came to all the other companies in the portfolio and said, you have to start firing people. It's going to be very bad. I mean, he said, okay, I mean, I believe in what I do. I believe in my figures. I believe in my KPIs and in my expansion plan. I had this problem at the beginning of this year with one investor. He said, cut 20 people out. He said, this is what you say to all your company. No. I mean, they were, sorry?
Did you do it? No.
No. Luckily, because I'm 40, this is my third company. But if I were 25, I said, okay, here, 20 names. No. I mean, if you are the owner of your company and you feel sure on what you have, I mean, people say, okay, there is not money now, they are not investing. I don't believe that. I mean, I think that if companies have great unit economics, they can find money, because there are a lot of funds with firepower, with funds, and they need to invest it. But the thing is that they are still understanding and they are still learning from their mistakes, and that's the problem. And there is another problem that the show must go on. So they need to get more funds from their investors to create new funds. And the problem is that they have to keep alive the companies that they invested in the past. So they are now doing everything to help them by new funding rounds that doesn't appear in press, and they save this company. It's quite a crazy situation, because the ones that created this situation are the ones that are now saying, okay, don't do anything, don't move. I say, okay, life goes on. If you have a great company and you feel sure that you are doing good, go. There are lots of funds with money.
Well, thank you for not treating people like numbers and keeping them in your company, because I think it was very easy to lay off people when everybody else was laying off. And it happened. I've heard it from several people that they said, like, look, the investors, the board are forcing me to lay off people because everybody else is laying off 15-20%. I have to do it as well. You didn't do it, so you show that it can be done. So thank you for that. Before opening, now we're going to open the floor for questions. One last question for you. This is a signature question of Startup Grind. Is everybody has got a useless superpower, something you do exceptionally well, but it's fucking useless. What is yours?
I don't know. I think
something
I don't think it's a superpower, but I think that there is, for instance, related to what I was explaining. I mean, it's my third company and I have experience. And if it has been my first startup, which was one really bootstrap with not investors. But anyway, if I were young and an investor came to me and said, fire people, I would have done it, because but now with experience and with time, I have learned to manage. I mean, there is a sentence where it says that when you don't have money in the pocket, your head doesn't work well, because you don't take good decisions. I think that this is my superpower, that with time, I have learned how to manage this situation. And that's something that in a startup that we are always in capital problems. But if your business is healthy, I can keep calm now. And this is very difficult.
But that's a useful superpower. I want something useless.
Okay.
I always manage to lose my keys. Every day religiously, I sing terribly.
I think I'm a totally seller. I mean, what are you good at? I say, I'm good at selling, because I sell at banks, give me loans. I sell at investors, invest to me. I sell to employees, come here, we are a coffee company, want to compete against Nespresso, and say, okay, what? And that's what I do every day. I mean, I'm like a cheerleader and selling to everybody. So I think that entrepreneurs need to be good sellers. Yeah. And this is maybe, I mean, we have a co-founder that is really great. She's the Ferran Adrià of the coffee industry. We have another one that is really good at operations, technology, and everything. And I
you look like
connect
George
the
Clooney.
dots, and I connect the dots, and I look for people, I look for investors, I look for providers, and I connect these dots.
Perfect. That's awesome. Well, let's give it up for Francesc. Who's got questions? Raise your hands if you have questions. We're going to throw this thing around. Last time I fucked it up very badly. Up, there you go. Say your name, keep it close to you. Yeah.
It's a mic? No.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, my name is Estelle. Thank you very much for your story. I think that your story in the brand is very inspiring. I had a question. Alex said, and very rightly, that the coffee market is very competitive. You have already Nespresso, Starbucks. You said that first you started pitching Incapto to customers, and then you did a successful crowdfunding campaign. So how did you create the marketing around Incapto? How did you made it a brand in this very competitive market? And what marketing strategies or channels that you use to scale up? Because calling each customer is not very scalable at first.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there are great companies. I think that there are bad companies, and bad companies can learn how to be good companies. But what makes you different is your business model. And we decided to, I mean, fully automatic machines already existed, specialty coffee already existed. And we said we want to bring the specialty coffee, not to the barista ones, snobs about coffee, but to a new market, the mass market. And by doing this, we put it all the pieces of the puzzle together, which was the difficult thing to do. I think that we were a team of 3 founders with a lot of experience, a lot of connections. We need how to raise money. We need how to acquire these first customers in companies and particulars, because we were 3 with, I mean, 40 years. I mean, it was not like we just left university. And I think that disintermediating all the coffee industry was really important. I mean, we go to the coffee farmers, we buy coffee directly from them, we pay even more. We teach them how to improve the coffee farms and sell a specialty coffee. We buy it, we import, we roast ourselves, and we deliver it ourselves. By doing this, it's 60% of the final price of a cup. And at the end, we also develop and design, and we have 15 engineers designing machines and IoT systems and everything with the time. And I mean, we're applying technology in operations. All our machines are connected. So we are good at operations, I would say. We are good at controlling all the value chain of the coffee industry. And by doing this, people say, you can't sell coffee, specialty coffee at 25 or 30 euros a kilo. It's impossible. I say, yes, with healthy margins, not the high margins of the industry, and by disintermediating everything. But doing this is complicated. I mean, my co-founder, she had been traveling during the 10 years to coffee farmers all over the world. She knew all them. And we knew how to do marketing campaigns, and we had leaded e-commerce brands before. So, I mean, had all the skills, all the connections, on all the knowledge on the industry, in this case with my co-founder, and we put all these pieces together. And then if the product is good, is when then you realize that you don't have to spend 30 or 40% of your revenues in Facebook and Google. I mean, because with many brands, I say you work for Google and Facebook. There is a metric that normally are not in the KPIs that I always control, which is effective revenue share, is ERS, is which part of your revenue is dedicated to Google and Facebook. And when I see brands that dedicate 40 and 50% of what of their revenue, I say, you are crazy. And when we see the approach of very bad coffee in the supermarkets, totally intermediated, for 15 euros per kilo. It's awful, it's burn, it's, I mean, it's really hard. It's just to keep you awake. You don't enjoy this coffee. But if you want to go to artisans, they sell you coffee at 60 euros per kilo. I mean, we're in just a blue ocean in terms of pricing and approach. And this is by changing the way we approach the customer.
I have a first story to share with your company. I'm not buying your coffee yet because you have no translation to English, unfortunately. But this year at Mobile World Congress, you were the star of the show for me. Because maybe of you maybe were there, but the lines at the last hall where all the startups were, the thousands of people every day, the hugest lines were where? To coffee. Everyone wants their coffee at morning. Every startup, every investor, everybody. So you have contacts of everybody who traveled to Barcelona in March. That's like, I have seen this, and like they're hacking the market in this way. And this is a great example how you can fit into audience that like potentially you're not should be not there because you're coffee making. You're not a startup as like technological startup, but you're so perfectly fit by need, not by because everyone should be there. That was huge. My question is not about coffee, unfortunately. My question is about, I found on LinkedIn that you have a PhD in startup building.
Yeah.
Could you elaborate more? Because like it sounds on LinkedIn like the craziest thing I could imagine. Like you're hacking the system from the like, you know how to build startups because you have PhD.
Yeah, no, this is very interesting and we can talk 24 hours about this, but I will tell you why I'm doing a PhD. Actually, I have always combined starting up companies with teaching students in the university. I was the typical student that never went to school, to class, and I mean, if I had a 6, I said, okay, there is one point that that I don't need here. I mean, I didn't enjoy business administration. But with my first startup, we were 3 students of Autonomous University and said, okay, I mean, you are the only ones. All of them went to work in bank and Pricewaterhouse, all this, and said, you are the only ones entrepreneurs. Why don't you come here and teach? I said, I mean, I was a mess when I stayed here, but they said, you can teach entrepreneuring, and say, okay, let's do this. And it's something I have done for 15 years. And with my first company, I started helping others not to do the same mistakes that I did. And when you have raised money, when you have understood how to do a go-to-market approach, or when you know how to internationalize company, I mean, that's something that I'm not more intelligent than others, but I have done a lot of mistakes and I have a lot of experience. So there was one professor in Open University of Catalonia that said, I want to create a framework on how to move from a startup to scale up, and you have the knowledge. And I said, okay, let's do this. And it's a different approach in terms of the PhD, because it's an industrial PhD. I'm doing this PhD in my company, so my company is the case, and they even pay to me for doing this. And I have just need to publish 3 papers and then do like this framework and this simulator that I'm still working on it. I hope that next year I have more time. I have just published 1 paper, and I hope in the future not to continue working on this crazy sector, which is startups. I mean, I'm a father of 2. It's really hard for them. I mean, for my family, for my kids, having an entrepreneur as father is really complicated, really complicated for them. And I think that maybe when I'm 50, now I'm 42, maybe I will dedicate a bigger part of my time to teach students and help other entrepreneurs than to run my own companies. That's something that I would like to do this change in my career. And something which is interesting, I mean, I don't even know if we like us to be considered as a startup. Because, I mean, yes, we digitalize a lot of processes in the industry, we invest in hardware, in software, but at the end, we are a coffee company, and every day, thousands and thousands of coffee are being consumed, and that's what we do. I mean, you can use technology, you can say you can raise money, but it's a company that needs to be profitable. And I want to quit of this definition. And I think that there are some companies that have used the concept of a startup when they didn't need, they thought that they were cool because we are a startup. No, you're selling electricity. Okay, it's a normal company. It's good. And companies, I don't know why you laugh, and companies need to be profitable at the end. So yes, that's the thing. And an important thing, you said, you are the star of the show. Yes, because everybody loves coffee. And that's really interesting, because when I went to see investors, said, I don't know if this investor will invest me. But at the end, they will buy a coffee machine, and and in all the VCs and investors industry in Spain, they do have our machines. Because yes, I mean, and I And I said, I prefer to sell the machine than to be invested by them, because at the end, I need this, I need customers. And that's something that we have explained to everybody that works for us. I mean, you have to love our company, you have to love what we do, you have to love coffee. If not, there are plenty of companies, and that's important. If you are convinced, you can convince the other ones, and then they can convince their families, their friends, everybody. That's something that it's like a virus. And an important thing, and related to a novel history. When we went to London to raise capital, I mean, and we're explaining the great KPIs of what at the end become Bandit. We said, okay, look, with full-time employees, the white collar, the digital employees, I mean, there is a huge problem there, because the industry is paying really high fees to the recruiters. It's a nightmare for them. So there is a problem. And when there is a problem, when there is a big problem, people is willing to pay. They say, no, 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 no. Job and talent, corner job, a job today, 15 million, 20 million, 30 million, the blue collar employees. I said, no one is paying to recruit the blue collar employees. Why are you investing there? Because companies want, and at the end, I think that we were right, but well, VCs, you don't have always to listen to VCs. They don't know everything. And sometimes you have to say, no, I will continue with what I think, with what I know of the market, and move on.
And take one last question, because I'm hungry, basically. But
Thank you. I'm Ali. I'm an entrepreneur as well, but in the software space. And I really want to talk about products, about hardware. I think a lot of people want to build great
Nightmare, you say?
hardware.
Nightmare.
Yeah, maybe, maybe. And that's what I wanted to talk to you about. I dream of being able to one day build hardware, but it scares the shit out of me, because you have like manufacturing, reliability, R&D, you have customers, things might break. So I'm keen to understand, as much as you can share, what are your challenges in terms of product? Like, what is it that you want to overcome? What are the things that maybe you want to solve for the customer, that issues that you might have today? Because it's a new bit, like 3 years old. There are iPhones that are, how long? 2007, 16 years. They're just about getting stuff right. They still overheat. So, and oh, it cut me off. Yeah. I'm keen to understand what your challenges are, and what keeps you up at night, and what you're trying to solve for.
Yeah. Well, working with hardware, it's been a challenge. I mean, because I think that the ones that come from software don't know that to just create one small piece, you need to invest in tooling, in hundreds of kilos of, I mean, it's very complicated. For instance, creating one new machine, it can take 2 years of your time, some engineers, designers of product, of usability, UI, UX, and you have to invest more than 2 million in tooling cost to create a machine. Then the IoT, how to control the coffee consumption and everything. This has been a challenge. And I mean, it can sound incredible, but no one in the world has a platform like ours where we can control what machines do. And then you keep we talk a lot with our customers and say, okay, I would like the coffee to be not that hot or stronger or larger. Okay, it's easy. I mean, you just need one machine that adapts the quantity of coffee, the temperature, and the quantity of water. So you can do it from a mobile phone. You have like the centralized. Yeah. We can do it with a machine, and we are every day designing new machines, and it's hard because I want a more compact machine, smaller, and it has to do this, and it has to. I mean, there are people that ask you for, I want to wake up and push a button in my mobile, and then I have the okay, this is stupid. I mean, this doesn't need any value, but the personalization, the receipts, having the extraction of the coffee. You need to work a lot on hardware, on software, and then how to do a business model where you serve fresh coffee, just roast it, because you know that they are running out of coffee at home or at each office, and do it this in an operational way. It's really complicated, but I mean, it's really challenging. I enjoy a lot working in this industry. I mean, because this mix of hardware, IoT, software, physical product that is sensitive. I mean, it's really great. Yeah, but it's complicated. Yeah,
Awesome.
and technical issues always, and delays always. But I mean,
But we know your company is going to be here in 20 years' time. One of the most, I don't know, awkward things about Startup Grind is we've been interviewing people for 9 years, and a lot of the companies we hosted in the first years don't exist anymore because that's the startup game. But I've got the feeling that you guys are going to be around for 10 more years at least. So we'll talk in a few years and explain us about, the 100 million raise, or how did you acquire Nespresso? Thank you very much.
I know,
Sorry,
I know that you're hungry, but just one comment. I hope that
I want beer.
I hope that the company will continue, but I don't think that it will be with me.
Oh.
No, because I mean,
Come on, you can be the
I like
chairman.
writing.
Yeah.
You asked me for what are you good at? I mean, after all these years,
Starting
I know
up.
how to start companies.
Yeah.
But I mean, being always
You'll find
there-
your limit.
Yeah. And maybe I would say to some other one, okay, now it's time to develop this company in other countries, more profitable, more whatever. And that's something that I don't know if I would like to do, because I think that there is a good manager for every phase of the company. I don't know if I will be shareholder, but for sure I won't be CEO of this company for many years.
That's very honest and humbling for you to share. So please, big applause for Francesc.